As a rabid member of the Westlife fan club from May 1999 until December 2002, I can safely say we're very impressionable when we're children. We don't know right from wrong. We don't know what we really like. We see 5 strapping Irish lads stand up in unison and hear a key shift that would send the knickers flying off a nun, and we think, hey, that's alright, even though it's clearly not. With the Play-Doh-like consistency of children's brains in mind, it's shocking to think that WWE's programming doesn't breed an endless conveyor belt of psychopaths who believe committing a series of felony is completely fine, just because their favourite wrestler got away with it once upon a time. There's a number of WWE superstars living the dream today who should be behind bars due to the lengths that they've gone to get the upper hand in a rivalry. Just watch the weekly shows. It's all documented on there and has all been broadcast to the world, yet is anything done about it? Has it, Sean Heckingbottom? WWE are very lucky the Law aren't fans of their product, or their roster would be thinner than Baron Corbin's hair. Baron, by the way, who attempted murder on Dean Ambrose with a forklift just before WrestleMania 33 and got away with it. And that's just the tip of a very balding iceberg. I'm Adam Pacitti from Cultaholic.com, and in no particular order because I'm not a policeman, here are the 10 biggest kayfabe criminals in WWE today. Join us. Number 10. RUSEV. How many RUSEV days should that massive Bulgarian man have spent behind bars? Roughly, lots. He might be the darling of the WWE universe today, but there's no doubt about it, RUSEV is a handsome rapscallion who needs to be stopped. The man has a fetish for mutiny. Just ask his former manager Sylvester Lafore, his old pals in the League of Nations, and even his real-life wife and purveyor of crushing Lana. During his time in WWE, he's threatened to cause an international incident while potentially inciting public discord during his phase. And we've all had one of these, it's okay, the phase of having a penchant for Russians and Vladimir Putin. The man even rode into WrestleMania on a tank, for Christ's sake. Were you certain that that thing wasn't loaded at the time? Even though I was thousands of miles away on the Isle of Wight, I was nervous, and you should have been too. RUSEV even committed treason during his initial run as an unstoppable brute, and even when he was well on the way to being stopped, he still managed to commit assault with a deadly weapon when he made John Cena's nose resemble a succulent fried egg. That handsome brute has also committed grievous bodily harm on a number of his opponents down the years, namely Dolph Ziggler, whose trachea was turned into a stress ball for his toes. I'm sure there's more, but just like you, I'm lost in all of the magic that is RUSEV Day at the moment. I just hope I haven't ruined RUSEV for you by outing him as the criminal that he is, and you still enjoy many more RUSEV days to come. Number 9, Sheamus. I know we're not talking about that hairstyle. Doesn't he look like a giant cock? Cockerel, filth. Sheamus has anger issues that have blighted large spells of his WWE career. The man sees red and all hell breaks loose, although you can't really blame him as he's quite literally seeing red most of the time. Imagine looking in the mirror and seeing that angry redness. Life must be hard being ginger. Anyway, assault is the order of the day when it comes to Sheamus. His assaults in WWE date all the way back to 2009 when Jamie Noble was on the receiving end of one that resulted in grievous bodily harm, and eventually, after many weeks of beatings, retirement. Then again, you look at Noble's tenure as Seth Rollins' carer and you might think he enjoys being thrown around by larger men. Hey, people pay for weirder things. The assaults continued in 2009 with one on a hapless ringside timekeeper and another on a hapless keeper of timely references in Jerry Lawler. Even Triple H had his body grievously harmed by the Celtic Warrior at one stage. Even though it took place during a sanctioned match, you could argue that excessive force and repeated assault with a deadly weapon was used on the Big Show at TLC 2012. Sheamus lost that match, by the way, which proves crime never pays, nor wins professional wrestling matches. Then we have the likes of Mark Henry, Daniel Bryan, and Dolph Ziggler all falling foul of Sheamus's assaults. The latter was even publicly humiliated when the Irishman made him kiss his arse in front of an arena full of fans and millions watching around the world. Collusion, conspiring, and a planned group assault befell King Barrett on the Raw after WrestleMania 32, with Sheamus being the instigator in his role as the leader of the League of Nations, and who could forget the brawl that took place down the pub with Cesaro. The place was trashed and Sheamus quite literally glassed another man. And if all of that wasn't enough, Sheamus played his part in the murder of Braun Strowman. You know, the murder which saw Braun crushed into a cube before living in a garbage truck that just happened to drive from the Target Center in Minneapolis, Minnesota, where the TLC pay-per-view was, all the way to the Royal Farms Arena in Baltimore, Maryland, where Raw just so happened to be 8 days later, before he got out with his clothes sporting not one bit of dirt. That's a thing that actually happened. Number 8, Triple H. Now, I know I'm risking my own life by daring to paint Triple H as anything but the god of wrestling, and overlord and ruler of your existence, but I'm a brave and noble man. Once again, I point you to this picture of myself with my arm around Brock Lesnar as proof. Come at me, shovels. Controversy has legitimately followed Hunter around for the majority of his career, but that hasn't stopped WWE booking the game into even more controversial positions when the cameras are rolling. Vandalism on Vince McMahon's plane, Titan Towers, and other places, a multitude of indecent exposures broadcast around the world, arse cheeks everywhere, racism against, and throw those air quotation marks with me, people like Booker T, defamation of character against a number of WWE superstars, but most notably Kane in 2002, collusion and conspiracy to commit murder on Stone Cold Steve Austin with the help of Rikishi, a car, and some reckless driving, entrapment/imprisonment/kidnapping, whatever you want to call it, on the entire Spirit Squad, various assaults and battery on various people, with none better than the shocking revelation that he'd sent Shawn Michaels' head through a car window in the build-up to SummerSlam 2002, breaking and entering Randy Orton's house and trespassing Randall's poor wife, oh my god, desecration of a corpse/dummy/corpse thing, which could be construed as necrophilia in some circles, laying his hands on poor defenseless women, and last but not least, actual murder on Kayfabe with the Click, which I'm sure you'll agree is the most serious. After hearing all of that, you have to question Vince McMahon's sanity for first, allowing this heathen to marry into his family, and second of all, for giving his heathen-in-law the keys to the entire WWE universe. We are all doomed, but NXT is really, really good. I'm so conflicted. Number 7, Kane. When it comes to Kane, let's start with murder with a hint of arson. Kane has committed arson more times than you've had sexual partners, and a smattering of fratricide. Kane locked his brother The Undertaker in a coffin, thrashed at it with an axe, set it on fire, and gave it the V's. Was he arrested? No, because this is wrestling. About a decade later, the hankering for some pankering would return as Kane would seemingly murder Paul Bearer. A few years after we thought Taker did. That's patricide now. Wrestling! Sticking with the theme of wholesome dead bodies and spooky things, we have to ask where Kane got all of that blood in which Stone Cold Steve Austin took a lovely looking bath on Raw. Whatever he did to get it, I'm sure was an arrestable offense. Wrestling! Then we have his relationship with Lita, oh goodness me, where abduction and a whole myriad of misdemeanors relating to sexual assault were rife. But hey, don't be so down. Kane set out to marry Lita and in true storybook wedding fashion, won the right to do so by defeating Matt Hardy at SummerSlam. Wrestling! Assault? Yes, there are so many crimes here that I'm just going to shout out what they are now. Hello, Zack Ryder, Shawn Michaels, and Mr. Priestman. More assaults with deadly weapons. Hello, Jim Ross and Shane McMahon, who still pisses in 7 different directions to this day thanks to Kane electrifying his grapefruits. Laying thy hands on defenseless women. Hello, Lita, who we've already mentioned, but spare a thought for Tori and the Princess Diana of the Graps herself, Linda McMahon. Kane has also set people on fire with lightning bolts from his fingertips. Wrestling! You get the picture. DUI and manslaughter, but definitely no necrophilia, are things that did and didn't happen in the midst of the whole Katie Vick thing. Breaking into a hospital occurred in order to attack a very crispy Shane O'Mac. He's vandalized a number of things, including the limo he was almost murdered in on Raw. What goes around comes around, lol. He also buried his brother alive with the help of Bob the Builder, stole his own mask back from his identical twin-ish, played his part in the murder of Braun Strowman at TLC 2017, and last but not least, who could forget the time he left his brother The Undertaker in a vegetative state? The usage of that term alone should have seen the entire creative team and Vince McMahon himself sent to the clink for their sins. Number 6, Randy Orton. He has voices inside his head, they counsel him, they understand, they tell him to commit crimes. You wouldn't believe Randy Orton was in the Marines once upon a time after hearing how he's a massive crim. But while he would actually spend time in the brig at Camp Pendleton, the absolute hard-case nutty bastard, he should have spent even more time behind bars due to the naughtiness he's been up to on screen in WWE down the years. Sexual assault, punt, arson and desecration of a grave while also murdering an unsuspecting cameraman, a catalogue of assaults on the elderly as the legend killer, serial colluding, conspiring and facilitating many a planned assault while in Evolution, teaming with Edge in Legacy and as part of the Authority, and during his time as a Wyatt, spitting in the faces of Harley Race and Mick Foley, beating up women, most notably Stacy Keibler, attempted premeditated homicide, attempted murder of The Undertaker twice, the Singh brothers multiple times, and John Cena with pyrotechnics, and a catalogue of assaults that is thicker than your dad's latest Avon issue, often with deadly weapons, with the highlights coming against Foley, Helmsley, Slaughter, and Cena Sr. What a prick. Number 5, John Cena. John Cena is the squeaky clean hero all of our children must aspire to be when they grow up. He's the man that every single man on the earth should want to go for a beer with. He's the man that every single person on the planet with any kind of sexual desire should want to be with. He's the bloody best, isn't he? No. No. He's a massive criminal and a bit of an idiot. Who wouldn't press charges on a man you knew stabbed you in a nightclub? I don't care if it was Jesus who did it, he's not the Messiah, he's a very naughty boy. John's rap sheet isn't as long as others on this list, but it's still pretty hefty, with JBL being the main focus of all the crimes. Well, come to think of it, maybe CENA is the guy we should all be aspiring to be or be with, because JBL is a cock. Nice work, CENA. CENA committed aggravated assault, destruction of property, including a vehicle, displayed excessive force, careless indifference, intentional disregard for safety, and grievous bodily harm, all on JBL in 2005. Good times. Bray Wyatt was also on the receiving end of some crimes from John, including an aggravated assault, destruction of all kind of things that should have resulted in charges being pressed, and most importantly of all, concealing Bray's body at Payback 2014. John Cena fashioned a shallow grave to defeat Wyatt in a fake last man standing match, and then trapped the Eater of Worlds in there. Oh, and there's also an assault on Billy Kidman to be mentioned here, but nobody remembers that. Number 4. Matt Hardy. There's no easy way to say this, but it was heavily implied during the Hardy Boys 2009 feud that Matt burned down his brother's house and killed his brother's dog. Just to set the record straight, Jeff's house did actually burn down in real life, and his dog Jack did perish in the fire. So WWE decided to incorporate that into their storylines because Vince McMahon's a bit weird like that. Anyway, murdering a dog is way worse than murdering any human, which is why Matt is so high on this list. It goes dogs, then babies, then the elderly, then everybody else, then you, Jack. During the feud, it was also revealed that Matt had committed a series of other crimes on Jeff, which included setting his brother on fire with pyro, running his brother's car off the road, and assaulting his brother in a hotel stairwell. The felonies weren't reserved for 2009 with Hardy, however, as we also have him assaulting MVP, Edge, and Lita. Matthew. Number 3. Roman Reigns. We live in a weird time when it comes to WWE. The faces are booked like dastardly heels, while the heels are booked like underdog baby faces, but we're expected to laugh at them because they're Canadian. As I mentioned earlier in this list, it is in no particular order, so having Roman at number 3 is probably unwarranted, but just like Mojo Rawley, I don't care, I love it. Roman hasn't really done that many crimes during his WWE run, even though most of you think that him merely taking a breath is worthy of a few months behind bars. He's been involved in a number of assaults on the likes of Ryback, The Undertaker, and RUSEV. He's been suspended for violating the company's drug policy, which is both real life and kayfabe at the same time, since Stephanie McMahon referenced it in a promo. He trespassed, entered without an invitation, and stole champagne from Lana and Rusev's wedding celebrations, and he's attempted to murder Braun Strowman. But who hasn't tried to do that? WWE superstars are trying to kill the monster among men like it's going out of fashion. But only Roman's attempted vehicular manslaughter would cause over 3,200 of you to head over to change.org to sign a petition to get his ass arrested. Seriously, this is something that actually happened. And you know what, heck, while we're at it, let's lambast Roman Reigns for desecrating the flag of the United States of America by carrying the WWE United States Championship like a big bag of dog poo. Number 2. Bray Wyatt. Despite being a terrible cult leader with fewer followers than Piers Morgan has friends, Bray Wyatt has proven over his WWE career that he knows how to evade the law. Even though he's only been in our lives for 6 years now, he's committed more crimes than you've had sexual partners. I know I've said that already, it doesn't make it any less true though now, does it? Let's just look at his character and the subject matter of his endless nonsensical promos. He is clearly attempting mass indoctrination into cults, which is completely different from me telling you to join us, by the way. Inciting and encouraging public unrest by saying these things you like are wrong, these things I like you should like, and potentially inciting and encouraging anarchy and attempted mass brainwashing or mental manipulation. Yes, I'm still talking about professional wrestling, believe it or not. Bray Wyatt's character is dark, man. Then look at some of the debauchery he's committed on some of his colleagues down the year. Kane has already been the victim of some Wyatt-flavored aggravated assault. Dean Ambrose has been assaulted with many a deadly weapon, including a candy kendo stick. Finn Balor had some real blood slopped all over him. The likes of Randy Orton has had evil magic and stuff practiced on him. The Undertaker and Kane have been kidnapped, trapped, and assaulted by Bray and his beardy boys. And loads of superstars have had collusion, conspiracy, and facilitation of group assaults brought upon them by the Wyatt family as a whole. Number 1. The Undertaker. You are no doubt going to correct me, but my calculations show that The Undertaker has tried to murder 11 WWE superstars down the years. Paul Bearer, Big Boss Man, Stone Cold Steve Austin twice, Mideon, Muhammad Hassan, Stephanie McMahon, Mick Foley, unintentionally, Vince McMahon, Rikishi, Kane, and Edge. There's a public hanging, graves of cement, and abduction of a female with the intent to perform a ritualistic sacrifice on her in there, all for the fun of the fair. wrestling. Oh, and also we can't forget that Taker murdered his parents in the fire that caused Kane to wear a mask for many years due to the psychological scars suffered. There's like 3 life sentences in there, and the rest for all of the failed attempts. Hall of Famer. Clap, 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 clap. I could mention arson, breaking and entering a home, and the plethora of other crimes the dead man has committed down the years, but everything I've mentioned so far is more than enough. Somebody stop the damn list. So that's our list. Let us know what you think in the comments below, and you can follow me on Twitter here. If you enjoy what we do here at Cultaholic, you can pledge to our Patreon. That's patreon.com/cultaholic. And most importantly, don't forget to hit subscribe and join us.